Here to talk this over are legal giants, legal eagles, Avery Friedman, a civil rights attorney and law professor, and Richard Herman, a criminal defense attorney and law professor. Good to see you both.
Hey, Fred.
Hi, Frederica.
Hello. Okay, so Avery, you first, police were able to catch Warwick after decades of searching because someone in his family decided to use one of those ancestry kits. Is it really a tool now that law enforcement is able to use, investigators are able to use, and to be able to prosecute based on that?
Yeah, it's a big, big development. And you know what? It's such a powerful story. You've got this guy who terrorized the D.C. area, the metro area, with the substantial crimes, rapes, a murder. And because of the technology, forensic genealogy, they were able to connect up to a relative. And the real story here is two detectives from Montgomery County going down to South Carolina, getting that swab, jumping in the cruiser, driving back to Maryland, and waiting at the crime lab. 24 tests, boom, they got them. They've got Giles, Daniel, Warwick, and now the case is going to move forward.
Wow. So Richard, we don't know all the details about, how they were able to get the DNA, from Warwick. Could there possibly be, a legal issue here, an obstacle?
I don't know if he was represented by counsel when they picked him up. I don't know if they placed him under arrest. I don't know if he voluntarily appeared. And I don't know if he voluntarily consented to that DNA swab of his mouth. So unless they got a court order or they got some other grounds for doing that DNA swab of his mouth, this DNA evidence may be precluded. Now, I'm sure that they did the proper way. Don't forget, Fred, this case has been going on, this investigation has been going on since the 90s. The charges here are, first-degree murder, 6 rapes, 1 attempted sexual assault, and law enforcement thinks there may be others out there. So the fact that somebody did not give up on this case, Fred, it was a cold case. It sat there for years and months, and someone continued to look at it and look at the DNA, and, everybody's rushing to see their ancestry these days. Be careful, because look what happened
here.
Right.
Be careful is right.
Look what it could lead to, potentially. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit, because last weekend we were talking about this case, and now there is new activity on this. We're talking about a death penalty case. Texas appeals court now has blocked the execution of death row inmate Rodney Reed after millions of people, including celebrities, signed online petitions asking the court to review new evidence and testimony, and these supporters of him believe that the testimony and new evidence could actually exonerate him. So how much of the court's ruling do you think was based on this online petition, Richard, and this overwhelming outpour of support for him?
Well, if you remember last week, Avery and I respectfully disagreed with each other.
Yes, you did.
I thought that the publicity
it was respectful.
It was
respectful.
It was respectful. I really feel that the publicity garnered by this case by celebrities and by Republican politicians in Texas and others in Texas put a lot of pressure on the courts here and on the review court and the appellate court. And you don't get an oops when there's a death penalty case. You got to make sure you're right. And they bombarded the court with all this new evidence never presented before in the past 23 years. New evidence, new eyewitness testimony, looking to go after Fresnel, the fiance. So the court bowed deference. Fred, there's something like 250 prisoners on death row in the state of Texas, and this is only like the second time that there's been a stay issued. So the stay is indefinite. The case is remanded back to the trial court to examine this new evidence. And Mr. Reed lives. He lives for another period of time to see if they can prove his case.
Avery, what do you see next?
You know what? There's going to be a re-examination. One thing that I think fair-minded people want to see is the DNA test of the belt that Stacey Stiles had. It was used as the murder weapon. But at the end of the day, the reason I disagree with the Court of Public Opinion on this is the Texas Court of Appeals, the highest criminal court. They looked at the evidence. They have the new statements. And let me tell you something. I know Texas people. They want to be fair. It's a right decision. Let's see where this thing goes.
All right.
Fred, without that publicity, we never would have known about this case. The country would not have known about the case. This goes on all over the country. No, that's the only reason we know about it, because of the publicity garnered by the case.
I gotcha. All right, Avery, Richard, thanks to both of you. Appreciate it.
See you soon.
Always great to see you. Thank you.
Have a good weekend.